Hello there. What are y'all doing? Get my camera set up here. How's your day going? It's me, Sam. I thought we might talk about social media in general, and maybe it's a quote that I really like. It's it's a it's about how most people can't understand what's going on in the world because they can't understand them because they themselves could never possibly be as much of a sociopath or as much of a psychopath. They can't understand the depths of depravity, and so they don't get it. They're like, there's no way someone could be that mean, rude, manipulative to use, you know, leveraging systems of power and media to just not to just benefit themselves, but to just with no concern whatsoever. That most people have a even if they don't. What's up, Skull? What's up, Dave? Um, Most people have been stripped of most of their empathy early in life, stripped of their ability to critically think. But it's still in there. Empathy is still in there. But these people seem to not. It doesn't exist in their minds, as if we could play all the games of are they actually from another place? Are they different species? Um, did they have a lot of traumas that occurred to them that they're playing out? Um, are they just we could go through all the reasons it could be. Most people don't have the capacity to think from that mindset because they could never be that. Absolutely. I mean, these people just they're so well beyond car salesmen. And, I've sold cars, so I get the pathology of it, and I couldn't do it because I was just like it was too easy to manipulate someone. I was like, well, it's not. I can't do that. But these people on a mass scale, literally, I wouldn't be surprised if they would eat their firstborn. What a fire Drake. I do have a pretty decent tree here. The bench wasn't working because the sun was coming through the branches over there. So, what up, Eddie Ferry? Of course, man. Of course. What's up, Matt? So, getting on this kind of, here's the thing with social media too. It's such a tool and a useful tool to interact, connect with people that you never be, you would never get to meet. I'd never meet you. I'd never know you. It would be you'd have to travel there. It's two-way communication thing that you can just go, holy mess, look at this. Anybody can. And so in one sense, it's such a powerful tool, but in another sense, people they 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 just eat it all day long. They're just consuming it. And then you have these people that are just act a fool. It's like they're mimicking their their idols. They're people that are actors. They're mimicking that. So they're actually like three steps removed from being themselves. You got the little scoot, and it's just it's like in one sense because I use it as often as I do to do this, and for me to have a little bit of something to talk about, I have to get on social media to get a get my ear to the street, if you will. Boots on the ground kind of stuff. I mean that obviously I interact with a lot of people on a daily basis, anyways, just because what I do here. But it's so sometimes encouraging, and so sometimes I'm just like, oh wow, how do we let these people? It's always I always go back to it, like how is the weakest, the most inauthentic, the most depraved, immoral, unethical, like the scum of the earth. How are they how are they in front and in control and hitting all the buttons on how society should work and be run? Even stepping back from out, if I get out of body and I'm looking at the whole realm, I'm like, how did that happen? Yeah, and the media thing, they became a tool on the media. Like, literally, like there's so many people that I'm like, what are you doing? And then you got to go, how many of their subscribers are bots, and how much, they're you can get new words. What do you call them? Influencers. Give me a break. I mean, it's obviously what they're doing. They're at least unlike, remember when Carlin told you they started adding vocabulary to confuse things to people. No, they're explicit with this one. That's what people are. They're influencing people to do just weird things. Every time you turn on the social media and there's like a new, hey, do a planking challenge here. Go eat the hottest potato chip ever. Go do drink a here's a ice bucket challenge. Like all of these things. It's like it seems to have very like it has a big deal of influence, but it doesn't seem to be pointed in the right direction. It's like if the golf hole is over there, people are aiming over there, and they don't even know it. They're just like, well, they don't even know where they're hitting the ball. They're just like, hey, I can get on here and say some meaningless babble. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What up, Dave? So, I mean, that's always like, you know, obviously I've been kind of on that kick lately because it's just silly. So many little things like, oh, here you got PayPal trying to uh enforce, it's like, we told you they try to do it. They're trying to enforce some social credit system, trying to fine people for misinformation or like what kind of goofy stuff are we talking about here? Something like $2,500 for misinforming something, I mean, obviously selling illicit substances is probably a bad idea. Don't do that. And there's a bunch of rules that I could understand, but then now they're just like, hey, let's see what we can do about going ahead and getting rid of that First Amendment. Remember that one? The first thing that we wrote down, the first thing that before we put together that thing to give us the rules or something. And the first thing he wrote down was like, hey, you should be able to say whatever you want. And they're like, well, we'll see about that. But to have a like literally like a financial banking institution doing that, that's a slippery, slippery, slippery slope, ain't it? I mean, if anybody's paying attention, again, as I always say too, I don't know what level of propaganda we get from this country to us about other countries and what kind of propaganda. It's all mixed up. Every country's got their uh propagated, nonsense. Some countries have like it's a war of information. It's a war of information, and the things that they like to frame as reality, the narrative, if you will. And so some of these places, I don't know. But if you do look at what they're saying about what's going on in China in certain places with social credit systems being put in place, didn't they do a Black Mirror episode about that? Is anybody paying attention? It's not a good. It's not a good. It's not an okay thing. I remember. I think Anthony Bourdain did a special. It was one of his shows. I don't remember where he was, but it might have been North Korea or South Korea. I think it was North Korea. And he's saying, "Hey, he's on a train. He's going down the street, and there's all of these shops and these things, and they all look all lit up and whatever." And then later on, he's like, he's informed that those places aren't even open. It's just to make people that come there think that it's a hustling, bustling area. It's just a front. It's just like a grand illusion. Like how many illusory things do we get to deal with on a daily basis? It's mostly mental. That's where it's a mind war, man. You start thinking something, start creating that reality. And the thing is that they've been doing it for so long, and they have such a a stranglehold on the just the general population that they're making the reality. And it's like when everybody is always like, "Hey, wake up to these things," like, oh, trust me, I get what's going on, and I think most of you all had a pretty big whiff of everything that's occurring. But then it's like, but what is the? Go ahead, offer me a solution. As intelligent as I think I might be, I can't. What's the game? What do you do? How do you? The only thing you can do is you have to inform the people that are enforcing the nonsense. Those are the people that need to understand. There's already teachers got wind of it as they were losing their jobs. Doctors were getting wind of it as everything that just occurred, so they kind of woke up to what was going on. Not all of them, but a few, and they've been enforcing things. You got people within the armed services. You got people in military policy workers. All these, they're the ones that need to figure it out because they're the ones enforcing it for the status quo for the state. Once they stop enforcing it, because what are you going to do? It's always the thing. Even if there's more of us, what do you want? You want to find an army? You want all these people out here? They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know how to cook a. They can't even cook a grilled cheese, and they're not trained. We're gonna go out here and go up to some sort of weapons of war with these people. It makes no sense. So the only thing that can be done, in my eyes, is these people must be aware of what's really occurring and what they're enforcing. Yep. Trick or treat. Hey, welcome to Halloween. Yeah. Oh no, it's always Halloween here, but it is actually funnest time of year down here. Although I have to deal with moving, which screws up my Halloween day. Oh well, at least it's a place to stay. But I should be able to get out for some party time on All Hallows Eve. Um, yeah, it's for real. It's like you can as one person make a difference for yourself or for your community or educate people, but as a grand thing, those are the people that need to figure it out. Those are the people that need the most education. I mean, is there any wonder the school system is set up to make people um as dumb as possible, just smart enough to take orders and to put some machines together and not question anything. And what do? The ones that are really good at doing that, they get really good paying jobs and they work in corporations. The ones that aren't even that good at it and they're incapable of a lot of things. Where do they go? Where do they put them? They put them into the. Why do you think why do you think the Army and the Navy and the Air Force came to your school? They're sitting there. They're just basically like, oh, which kids are here that are sitting in the back of the class getting C's and D's and are to some degree unhireable, undesirable for the workforce. Where do they go? So they're the ones that already are the maybe least critical thinkers of the entire room. So where are they put? Now you got to teach them later in life, like, hey, you're protecting the wrong people here. What's up, Son Toke? Oh, you in Denver? Did you see that? Yeah, I mean, I got a place right now, but I gotta move 2 times over the next couple days because I had a day that I didn't realize the booking was for a month, and I thought it got me until the 31st, and it got me the 30th. So I had to I mean, it's kind of cool because I get to go to a different part of the city that I like. So nonetheless, it'll work out. But you see what Denver's doing now? This I just seen today. Um, Denver is offering people $1,000 a month, homeless people. But here's the kicker. They're only offering it to women and transvestites. For real. So all of the homeless people, all the homeless dudes, because there's no homeless women really. So these dudes, they're gonna give them $1,000 a month. So you're gonna find a lot of people. They're gonna not, then the statistics are all gonna change. There'll be a lot of dudes claiming to be trannies, or they're not taking gay dudes. You got to be bi or transsexual or something. This is it. Just came up in the forget what it was on. um, the black pill people. Well, because obviously people are built into making people extremely apathetic and like hopeless, and this whole thing's meaningless, and they're apathetic, and then they turn to heavy drug use and all the other things that go along with that. It's built into the system. It's just like in The Fifth Element. Remember when Bruce Willie was talking to that dude, and he goes, little bit of chaos goes a long way. So he breaks something, and then all these things. He's like, see this little bit of chaos and all of this order that is created out of it. Well, then afterwards, he chokes on a cherry pit, and he can't get it out. He's hitting all the buttons, and there's nothing there to do. And so Bruce Willis goes, now, what do you see? And he goes over, hits him on the back, and he spits out the cherry seed. But nonetheless, their view is that if they put the chaos in the system, like there's many things that they could solve for a lot of these dilemmas. They could solve for homelessness quite easily. They could solve for assisting people properly, feeding them, nourishing them. They could do all these things, but then they lose control, and they're so eager to have manipulate and control things. Oh, you live near the airport? That's supposed to be funny too. I was watching another. You know, if you watch the news, you're probably misinformed. If you don't watch it, you're uninformed. Some of it there's some reality to, and then this is more like more than news sources, but like get into doing the little digging around and researching and shit. And they're planning on getting rid of like planes for the public to use. Like they're getting rid of lots of planes. What are they? I don't know what they're gonna do with them. They just put them over there in a plane graveyard. But it was something. It was something they're trying to like get rid of like 80% of planes by 2025 or something. Now I'm still on the side of I'm hoping for this plasma zombie apocalypse. I think it'd just be more fun. I'd rather just get the chaos over with. Just watch it, watch it all burn down, man. You know. But yeah, the energy from the airport. It's different these different hubs and centers of things that are going on, especially like airports. Yeah. Oh, especially that one. Especially the one in Denver. The ginger neck. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The ginger neck beards mask. Sorry, I haven't been putting your comments up here, guys. I just forget to hit the button. You already want to go back to the woods? Yeah, I've always stood by my position on that. I don't think that's how we're supposed to live. I think camping is just fine and dandy and fun. But humans are supposed to be we're supposed to be outside most of the time, interacting and being feral with nature, rewilding ourselves, if you will. There's something to be said about having your your indoor and some personal properties that your clothes, your trinkets and things that you little trinkets that you found from places and have a little meaning to you. Those things should exist. Oh, nice, Suntoke. Respiratory headache. Well, good, man. whatever it was. I mean, it is that season, especially considering where you've been and whatever. Especially if you've moved a little bit, you go to a slightly different climate, different bacterias and things in the air. Mm-hmm. 20 somethings have been broke all by the woke culture. Yeah, I mean, you already see them going off the walls. I mean, it's plain as day to see who's doing it. Like, and I talked about this the other day. If you see somebody with blue hair, you already know what to expect. They've literally bleached and chemically, you know, they chemically did their hair up. I've been watching these. I've been watching some. I forget who the guy was. He was just talking about like how many how many how many kids that he's already like they changed their gender, and then they'd gotten changed back. How many within a year because they are having even worse mental disorders. And he was talking about the solution for the the mental disorders that were only happening like one in, oh, whatever. I don't know what the number was, one in 10,000 or something, and now it's down like to one in 50 or something. And it was mainly boys that were just before puberty would have a little bit of, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Do I like dudes? I mean, they were going through that kind of feeling. And you're saying that once a boy goes through puberty, you get your secondary sex characteristics. You solve that problem pretty quickly, and you know what you are. And now because they've been screwing with everything in the foods, they got one direction. They got chicks trying to be dudes, dudes trying to be chicks, and the whole thing. And then they just use the guise of gender. You know what I mean? Like, you do anything you want. I just think, if this thing here, you can get a tattoo. That's there. I could erase that, but that's a little body modification. But like the whole system there, I think maybe you should wait a little longer to figure out if you can't solve a couple life issues. Considering most people would say that your brain isn't even fully developed until you're in your 20s. There's a lot of the reasons that you would say don't you shouldn't be smoking or drinking until you're 18 because of you should go through uh, a certain stage of development before you start chemically lacing your brain with things. That even but if you wait till later, you wouldn't have caused a malformation of the brain or having weird neurological connections that are based upon chemicals that were coming from outside of the body rather than the body having a normal, natural response to going through, puberty and then figuring out that, seeing what it's like from getting out of the word. It's called adolescence. I mean, the essence of being an adult where you're not quite, and then getting into being womp, womp, womp. Yeah, that's always the bit. Fire Drake. I'm always going on about the shoe thing, and I mean, how many people that we know and how many people exist that literally have never put their feet on bare earth. How many people have never even sat down next to a tree? That's not even fully grounding yourself. But I mean, you're getting an auric field off the tree. Obviously, if you're sensitive, you'd sense it, and especially if you take your shoes off. But no, these people walk on the sidewalk with their shoes on. Yeah, I think there's the zombie apocalypse thing. There is quite a degree of things that if we're watching it happen and slow, if you take a step back and look at the influx of behaviors of the Karen types and the Ken types and the things that used to not notice, people were not being so um, egregious or outrageous and react and respond in such a way, and most of it is obviously through certain types of medical procedures and things, chemicals. Then you add the isolation and you add other things like this in there, and you're mixing up a stew of how many people are having a hard time. I told you that whole thing with I can't breathe, and then what happens right after that? What's everybody doing? Uh, Wearing a mask. All part of the show. People are wiling out, and more people. You're seeing a lot more people that are croaking. And just the amount of people that I know that have been sick multiple times that were not sickly people, and we know why. And the amount of people that have told me that knew many people that got it, and I mean, family, friends that even some people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, man, like people that were in fine and dandy shape and just oops. You never made Eddie. There you go. You see how they set that up? You see that mantra they put in your head? You see how it works? They put that mantra in your head on purpose. hmm And then they were meditating on that. They were shouting in the streets. And then what happens? Mhm. Yeah, people would think you're weird if you put your feet on the ground. Well, luckily, I live somewhere where it's not weird. There's enough hobos and homeless population that you could walk through the French Quarter and they'll just be sleeping on the sidewalk barefooted. And these parks, like this park I'm at, like there's somebody over there doing some yoga or something with a stick, some old dude barefooted, And there's parks all over the place. And then I know dudes that are like, um, you know, they live in a house, but they prefer to walk around. Well, they walk around all day with barefooted. They get a job, they live in a house, then they walk around barefooted. I'm like, I mean, most people wouldn't choose to do that. Not in, not with all the glass and the crack pipes and the needles. But and I say that jokingly because it's not that bad. Like I've never really seen a lot of needles here. I mean, if you went to the wrong area, I'm sure you'll find plenty. Oh man, didn't that used to mean something else? It was called seasonal affective disorder, where people were being depressed because it was getting cold out. That's what it was, and then changed it to that. There was that. There was the other one called sudden infant death, which that was old. That was an old one, and that was happening. That I never did the full on research on that. I don't know how much of it was iatrogenic. If you don't know the word iatrogenic, it just means wrong drugs, too much drugs, cut the wrong thing, whatever. Or if it was just like, you know, kids come out the womb kind of beat up sometimes. Yeah, that thing with the when he says to Neo, like these people that you want to help are so hopelessly connected to the system that some of these people you can't unplug. I mean, I've always had, it's funny when I lived in other places, I've always had seasonal affective disorder. I definitely, when it's cold outside and I'm stuck inside, I know that I'm way more depressed. It's like, but I mean, I deal with it in the sense of the ebbs and the flows of things. I deal with that anyways. As my Geministic self, and as much fun as I have, and then I'm just like, I've just leaked out all my serotonin and my all of that, and then the next day I'm like, well, I guess I'll be depressed today. These things happen. But yeah, but I definitely noticed it where it was big time when I lived in the Northeast. The winters I had to, like, even though I hated being outside in the cold, I'd have to go. I had to be outside. I would go. Well, not outside necessarily, but I have to go somewhere where there's humans and interaction. It's like cabin fever esque. Yeah, that's There you go. That's the skull. That's the thing. They fight to uphold the system, the matrix. They do because because oftentimes they don't know what else. They don't have they what options. It's always for me the idea of somebody that went to school for a long time and they got bills to pay, a big house, white picket fence, kids, debt. They don't know. They're not gonna accept living slightly different. Just like get out of whatever field they're in and do a different job. A, they might not have the skills to do it. B, are they gonna take that pay cut or have to live a different lifestyle? Few and far between do you see the stories of, I mean, you'll see the the documentaries on people like, hey, I used to have this great job and then one day I decided to travel the world and move to but people don't even have that ability. Even if they don't have that ability because they're not that financially well off. These are people that were like super financially well off, which for them buying some land and a cabin that was easy for them. Someone's smoking that big good. So for these other people, they don't really have a there's no slick maneuver to not be part of it. You know, I mean, in some ways, shape, and form, you're always dipping in and out of it. You're gonna spend money. You want apartments. You want snacks. You're always gonna be part of it, unless you full on just go, I'm a fucking caveman and I live in the. But even at that, like where isn't you know how out in the forest do you want to be? And you know, I mean, how many people here have noticed their grocery bill go up, and by how much? And I mean, other things. Not to mention everything that would be occurring with with prices and with the inflation and with the supply chain. It's from every angle that they're talking about it. It's basically like there'll be less food, price increases. People be wild, man. Yeah, Eddie, that's what's up though. Like there's fruit trees around here and there's things to eat. I don't eat that much at all. I like my beer. I'll drink my piss. But there's plenty of places to eat. There's plenty of ways to eat here. Because it's a destination city, and people come here, and I mean, I've sat on benches and people just like hand me the food. I'm like, I'm not. Thank you. I'll eat it, but but other places not going to be so. It's not going to be so kind. It's not going to be so difficult. Or it's going to be more difficult. Excuse me. And so here, there's still fruit trees and things going on outside, but everybody else doesn't know how to fast. They don't know where to find cheap food. That's going to be major for people. The fasting thing is huge. Ooh, you had to deal with Kroger, $7 for a gallon of milk. That's where you at? Hey, man. Yeah, the thing that got me was, see, I don't drink milk. I mean, I do if it's there. I like milk. I have no problem with it. I love the idea of milk and honey, butter. But the cost of butter, I was like, what the hell happened here? Butter got real expensive. I think butter probably went up almost 120%. Milk is almost probably 80% up. And people think that's just gonna just feather off as they're tanking half of the system on purpose and trying to implement everything being through crypto, which might be okay, I suppose. I mean, it does appear as that's going to be a point of something for people. You're going to have a smartphone to exist. You won't be able to. There'll be no. They're doing their best to burn the dollar. I mean, just the bill, not the. they still want to spend it. You know, this they'll grow that back, and if and but they can also remember they can always turn those systems off. So it's like I'm kind of like in the middle where I'm like, oh, man, do I can you trust PayPal anymore? They trying some funky stuff. You know, do I have to go put my things into crypto now? Do I got to open up some crypto things? Just put my money into that, and then I got to pay attention to what I'm invested in. And that's another thing to do and be connected to this all the time. And it's funny because like now is the interesting part too. Is I ask all my friends that are musicians down here, like has the ability to use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal or whatever, has that helped or hurt them? And it's been a split. But it's also the people that I know that are like super homeless. They're not doing well because people less and less people have cash on them to even give them a tip with. But the musicians sometimes that they're like we bank because people take a picture of the thing and then they'll like get a donation from them next week or something. They're like, oh, thank you so much for the music, and so they're like they made $20 that they didn't go in their bucket, but then they got paid later. But yeah, I mean, the switch over to crypto. I mean, there's what's the other alternative? Because if you get rid of the paper and you devalue it, you can barter. You're gonna carry around a bag of apples to trade with the buddy down the street that's got a pack of smokes. I mean, what's going on here? Oh, Christopher Lee. Oh, well, the gas has been fluxing. The gas has been fluxing. There's some places here that's been kind of cheap, but we'll see. I mean, also here, interestingly, here they're they're going to be implementing like I think the home insurance is going to go up by something like 60%, which is insane because I know a lot of people that have already moved because of that. So you put that on top of what people are even in rental costs, it's kind of crazy. So if a homeowner's got to pay more and they're renting it out, and it goes, you're going to pay more. And water's going to be going up down here too. These are all like soon, and they're using excuses to do it, like, oh, the infrastructure is broken, despite the fact that it's supposed to be state and federal already aided. They're saying, well, we need to add about 5% of the bill so we can take care of the infrastructure, because if we don't, next generation's not, the city will be screwed. They'll have too many problems. There'll be water will be a big issue. um, what are my thoughts on Bitcoin specifically? Like that one. See, I don't really use any of them because it was too much to get into. I'm like, I'm basically like, I used to sell stocks. I know how a stock market works, and I'm like, this is not what they made it out to be to begin with. And I was like, why is this such a complex thing? I just give me that. And they're like, oh, now we got to trade this, and you need a wallet, but you can have a wallet on here, and it became just a big thing. I'm like, I've been in the business world. I know how this shit works. And I was like, it became like a complex equation. And I'm like, I'm not trying to sign up for all this. Specifically Bitcoin, I can't really make because then Ethereum, right? Ethereum, they kind of took over the market for a second here, and they're the good one. You got all these different cryptos and trading and those and buying these, and these ones are fly by nights, and all of a sudden that's not worth anything because it's just an imaginary small business that you invested in as it's like an initial public offering for a business, or investing in a penny stock or something like this. That you're basically gambling on it. It's a gamble, and so I haven't really studied it lately, but I basically it does seem like that's what I'm gonna do soon. Is just I I'll have to set up a wallet on here because it seems like that's what's going to happen. It seems like that will be the only way to function. Uh-huh. ESP on the mutual funds? What do you mean, like an EMP or like ESP? Like, oh, there we go, Eddie. Yeah, humans don't know how to barter. Well, for one, we don't have anything to barter with. Two, there is no there is no intrinsic value to things anymore. Everything has such a highly, like you said, highly manipulated value that there's no realistic set value for what something should cost. What something should cost between income tax, inflation, interest, between the manipulation of the markets, between how much money is being funneled in and out of corporations for this and that. Nothing has an actual real value. If we broke it down to what has a real value, everybody's like buy gold and silver. I hate to break it to all these people that think they're going to buy silver and gold and we're going to go from a fiat currency because gold and silver are important. Gold and silver, there's nothing you're doing in your life that involves gold and silver. I'll prove it to you right now. Go get a gold coin that's whatever, how many grams, pure gold, and go try to buy something with it. They're not going to know what the value is. They're going to have no clue how do I know this? And even that value of the gold, why does it have that value? What do we use it for? Not much. What's silver used for? Copper is worth more than all of that because it's used in everything that we do. All of electronics. You won't have the wires in your wall, copper. It is of infinite more intrinsic value to society. Just like what's more valuable, like an apple or use anything that you want to. We used to have the index of staple items. If we go back to like 1913, right when they really started to look at the values of things. Before, right around the time the whole implemented the fiat currency and Federal Reserve and all this nonsense, that you could look at the value and that the power of a dollar to buy something. And we're at a point where it doesn't equate no more. Yeah, true value. That's right. Yeah, Emerald Dreams. Yeah, that's well. See, they did look at that's what they did a couple weeks back, and then they said they were. Then I just seen a post that they're saying they were trying to reinforce that, and then somebody else said, "Well, it's always been on there. Somebody just noticed it." But if they try to enforce it, that's like pretty. Like I said, that's a slippery, stupid slope for them because a lot of people already took. It was like I'm just canceling my PayPal. I'm not going to do business with them. But then by proxy, who else doesn't PayPal own Venmo too? Now what are you down to using? Who's Cash App is about it? So who and who are they to say what misinformation on what? Who's in charge of telling you what is and isn't true? Now you have your Ministry of Truth. We've already read this book. Everybody knows this. It's it's malarkey. It's hogwash. Mm-hmm. I mean, uh, because it's a sister corporation, I think it's under the same umbrella. I don't know that the terms and services are the same. I mean, I use all three of them. I use Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. My preference has always been Cash App. I don't know why. It just seemed like the right one. I was going with my instinct. PayPal to me, I was like, huh, what are they? Because the PayPal bonds, papacy, they're part of the. So that was always kind of, what are they doing? And Venmo, like Venmo is always just something like that. It was easy to trade somebody a couple bucks for some beers or or whatever. Because so many people, because it was a matter of what was convenient, what people had, and where I could use it. Well, I get you on the gold doesn't rust. I get you, but when you get into again, you get into the electric, it being a conduit for electricity, being how expensive it is. It doesn't have a take the system and cut the system. Gold and silver will have no value. It's not going to do anything. You're going to just wear a cool gold chain and a gold crown. No one's going to trade for that because then it would go back into perceived value. I'm talking about intrinsic value. You can't eat it. You ain't eating gold. So what becomes more important in such times? The things that would become most important are things that are your staple, like addictions and drugs, because that's what they'll the things that are most like valuable would be chocolate, tobacco, marijuana, alcohol, clean water. But clean water, like if you know what you're doing, you know how to make it, and it's too hard to too hard to take place. But those are the main ones, substances. So everything else, there's not what value is something gonna have. So it doesn't make it so it doesn't as much as that is something that they could do to the system. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to actually destroy the entire thing because if they do, they would have to have prior knowledge that they were going to dip out of here anyways off the spaceships or go into their dumbs or go underground, which is a good possibility. Then they don't care. Then they just shut off the system and say, fuck it, go underground and, be behind firewalls. And plasma apocalypse happens, floods happen, or whatever the hell happens. That would be the only reason them to destroy the system completely. I mean, and as they're trying to go, oh no, this is what we're doing, and here's our goal. I don't know if it makes it to that. Mhm. Uh-huh. The system was built to corrode and crumble. Yeah, there's a lot of things they could do to prevent that. They could have used different items. There's other things you could do to create energy. You know, quartz crystal, copper wires. Why do you think you see all these kind of hippie dudes rocking that out? Hippie chicks. They always got their big fat quartz and their copper. It's energy. If you feel the subtle energies, you know what it's doing. And no wonder it's used in, like I've always had to explain to people like here, how much is a diamond worth in the real world? Just about nothing. It's only used in some electronics because it has there's a certain quality of how cold it can get, and it's only used in very high tech electronics. But for everybody just wearing one around, the thing is, diamonds are as plentiful as they're just rocks that got shined up. Quartz literally has more use, but they're cheap. You can quartz crystals. They have way more use. It's used in everything. Yeah, vices in water where it's at, because everything else that would actually be somewhat like in the health train or whatever, too hard to stock and store and transport and things. Yeah, we talked about that the other day a little bit. The connection between the social credit score of the system and the it's funky. That goes back to how do you stop that from occurring? Well, that is a big thing too. A lot of sports professionals are YouTubing now. because they feel like they were you know they were on the slave system. I mean, everybody, some people made fun of some guys are like, it's a trading block. We're weighed and measured, and you make a lot of money, but you also you're you're under some thumbs. You know what I'm saying? So they start broadcasting because they're like, okay, they leave the league, they're out, and they're just like, all right, I'm out the contract, can't do it. They're already paid, and then they can use their voice of what they know. Peace out, Frederick. Yeah, people want to be popular. I don't. I mean, I don't care to be popular at all. I don't like it. It's fine. I don't mind when people know me. I don't mind like what's up then. But at the same time, I just want the things that I know for people to know it. I don't care who the fuck says it, as long as people become aware. You know, some people love the attention. Eh, I'm somewhere in the middle. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's a little bit of the introvert versus extrovert. Do you think that people in charge are humans or something else? It's a tough one, man, because everything can be kind of manipulated to make you believe something, mm, and they're using that as an illusion. But there are quite a number of people that will stand by saying, "Uh-uh, those things are not human-like. There's something hybrids, reptilian, da 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 da." Which to me, I don't care because some of them are good. There's just like some dogs that train to be bad. Some are good. I know people that have snakes and have reptiles. I know humans that are good at bad. You know what I'm saying? So I don't. From that level, I don't. It doesn't really bother me. But the fact that some of them don't have fully that they're working from a different part of their brain. Some people say they have less developed brains, and you know how we developed more part of our brain, which gave us we're not as we're less aggressive, and they might be shape shifting. I don't know. I've seen some weird things, but we're all the same. Yeah, like the universal one idea. Like, yes, I'm this tree. I'm a dog. Like humans are humans, but is there a different species wise? Like I think. I mean, certainly, Caucasian people are not the same species necessarily as Asian people. They're not slanty eyed and short and different body types and hair types. Melanated people, African versus the natives are different. Those are the black people, the red people, the yellow people, and the white people. That's four different species. The same though. I mean, because we can mix and match. You can have sex with, and if you can create if you can create an offspring with that, then you obviously you're the same. Like I don't think you can go have sex with a horse and make a horse human baby. It's not the same species. A different whole different thing. You know. But on the level of higher governments and things, and I don't suppose that it couldn't be so. But it also could be just somebody that's in the club going, "Oh, here's what we'll say," just to keep people, you know, to bow their heads. Don't look the queen in her eyes. Don't interact with that because people are like, "Ooh, it's a spooky alien," and so it's the illusion of that controls people. I don't know. Yeah, the black, the red, the white, the yellow, the color wheel of the native tribe. Yeah, the circle with the four colors. Those are the four root races, apparently, and those come from Hyperborea, which is the farthest one out. Lemuria, the second one out, where we are on the land, which I guess you could, now you call it like Earth, but everything has Earth on it. You could call it Atlantis, the old Atlantis, and then you have the inner realm, which is where all of the that's where the youngest race is, which would be the white race. This is why the black people, we call them black, they were blue, black, blue, on the farthest realm. They're the ones that got pushed out first as the realm expanded. And they always would say that they taught white people how to wash. They always claim this. And if we look at like what is an advanced species, look at what the Asians are doing. The yellow people, they come from Lemuria, one step out from us. And then where we are, the Native Americans, the red skinned people, they're the ones. This is the land they were born into. And then the white people that came from the innermost realm, they're the youngest. That's why they think they own everything. Like a little kid. Watch a movie. You know, there's always the old black man in it or old black woman, the wisdom keeper, to know something. Oh, and you got the blue gods, the blue ones from like the Indian gods. I think those are probably. I think those could be something that the Hindu gods. I think there are Krishna and all of these ones. They would say that the black people were so black that they were blue, but that could be a nod to. I mean, why were all the gods looking like they were in India? Why did they make them all blue? Some people said it was blue because it was connected to, um, you know, higher levels of knowledge, pineal gland. Some people were like, no, they were actually blue skinned. But certainly, Asian people, there's a reason people call them yellow, and they have more yellow skin, and and then we got blood types. Blood types why would those be different? That's different people. I think I might take this seat over here because my butt is hurting. Here, come with me. Come join. Let's take this thing. Oh, no, not that. Ooh. I've got to use my cool new tripod. Oh, and as a reminder for everybody that's new here or from the future or from the past, this is kind of what I do for currency. And I'm kind of in a little bit of a pickle financially right now. So, and donations are very much appreciated. And also, if you need my help with anything, there's one-on-ones. You can hit me on my email. There's my old writings, WordPress. There's my Cash App and my PayPal and my Venmo, all right there. TsarXen. Make sure you capitalize that. And there is my WordPress on there, my old stuff. Yeah, all the stories seem to have quite a bit of similarities. Quite a many. Which to me says there was more of a one realm thing going on where there was larger giants or type of gods that have gods with a small g, just meaning they had more powers, things that they could access and do that us measly humans couldn't quite do yet, and they were here and they controlled realm wide. Thus you can look at all the architectures like from around the world on the realm, if you will. I'm not putting the blender. Yeah, yeah. I've always felt quite hybridized, I guess. I blended up my stuff. Blowing up my blood at birth. Had a blood transfusion. My features are kind of weird. Still handsome, but um, mm. Dave, what did you say? Because I must have missed it, whatever you asked. You just asked because how is everyone so manipulated? Well, I think some of it is psychic manipulation. Some of it is just a simple psychological manipulation. You can psychologically control people pretty easily, especially mass psychology, the mass hypnosis. It's easier to manipulate groups of people than it is singular people. Groupthink happens very quickly. People will start once you get more than you get 3 or 4 people. All of a sudden, you'll see people that might have a different opinion change what they do to fit in with the group. Like, now I don't have any wherewithal to. They go, well, if more people than me thinks this, I better think that way. So, crowd psychology and group psychology, it's much easier to manipulate a lot of people, which is against what you would think. You would think, oh, it'd be easier to control one person. No, it's way easier to control a mass of people. Yeah, it's one of it is psychic. One is societal and grouping. Where you live, your cities, your flying your flags, your countries manipulate you, your team, your colors. You got family manipulation. You got those sorting and grouping mechanisms uh, within religions. You have every sort of pyramid structure working in a job that you're like, oh, you're committed to that job, but you're sitting within some sort of corporate structure. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to get people to follow the oh, nice, this cool person. But how is everybody so manipulated though? Dave, Zanto and Native American, then he's not from Africa. Oh, I've said this plenty of times. Some of them know. It's a hard go when they're repeatedly told about the out of Africa theory, not realizing it's a white man's theory, to get them always say, "Oh, go back to Africa," because they think because they're melanated that they came from there, when in fact there was already many groups of people that were living here, but essentially most brown melanated black people are in America. From here. I've already told that story a billion times. Slave trade was Slavic people. They were not putting hundreds of strong black men on boats and shipping them over with no food, no water. The numbers. There's too many natives out there that know the history and break it down. Like, there's no. Yes, there was certainly some people that came over from different islands, from different places in Africa. I mean, it was basically the other way around. I mean, most people were going to from here to Caribbean, going to Africa. Yes, there were some coming this way, but those was mostly going to the islands. They weren't coming here. They have different hair. They're totally different. They would have kept some of their language, and they did. They don't. They have a different vernacular, and they always have. There there's many features that are much different on the continent of Africa. They don't know their tribes because they didn't come from there. Yeah, and I do know. I actually do know some people that are native and know their tribes. Like, that if you looked at the person, you'd be like, "Oh, you're black. You're African." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And like, what? But no, this is how they were. This is how they were. There's if you remove if you just remove the grandmother, you don't know anything. You only have to get rid of one generation. You can erase most history in one generation. But if you get rid of the grandmother, most people that can't they're not going to tell you anything before if they could even get back to the 1900s, the early 1900s. They don't know. They have no access to that information anymore. They might remember a couple stories from the kids, or maybe their mother knows something, but those stories are it's either that it's either those stories that aren't going to be in the books. They're in other books, or you're gonna get the learnings from the American public school system of indoctrination, which gives you the idea that there was evolution and everybody came out of Mother Africa, which is also probably not exactly true. I mean, once you disassociate people from their identity, they don't know who they are. People walking around like they have no clue, which then only enforces that dialectic, that that very obvious dialectic of black or white. Why didn't anybody say nothing about any of the other? Nobody's like saying anything to any of the. It's just black or white people. There's all sorts of different people for different places. That didn't really exist so much. Every time you got the Mexicans, you got the uh, Italians. Some of these people in different places with it, they have their little locales, but the main hub was coming over to Statue of Liberty. They're bringing people over that way, and a lot of people are coming out of underground cities. That's where the majority of people came from, and then rebuilt. Cleaned up the mud floods from the 1850s, and then when were they saying shipping people over? Probably around the time that they had to move. Like it didn't all happen at once. It doesn't seem, whether it was some sort of war or whether it was just something to do with flooding, mud flood, blah blah blah. They were just moving populations, so they moved them at different times to empty cities, always empty cities. With this population over there, with this one over here, it's like the Tower of Babel. If we confuse your language, if we confuse your history, if we confuse your culture, you're easy to manipulate. Oh, Grimmett, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the bells and cathedrals. I just re-released that one. I didn't know I re-released it, but yeah, I got a couple more I'll put out. I'll let you guys know which ones they are. Yeah, I'll just start. I'm gonna just start going to my oldest or most popular videos. I'll be sprinkling some newer ones in there, but I'll mostly be releasing some of my older ones that are a little more popular. And yeah, and well, I've always liked Graham's work. I think he went overboard on a couple things, a couple times about some stuff, but I think he gets some major downloads. I mean, he's definitely connected. He's always, he's on that piss, man. He's on that high octane diet. He's got them. His pineal gland certainly works. Sun gazing. The turpentine, yeah. Oh, and terpene too. If you look up terpenes, are very good for you. If you're getting a study like oils and terpenes that are available in a lot of oils, very good stuff. And turpentine, obviously. on the bell, either the Tsar bell and the cathedrals, from the size of those things. Like if you were even to do cursory research, when I show, it's like showing someone the size of a few cathedrals, the utter just how outlandish the size of the doors are and the ceilings and the whole thing and how it's put together. And you're like, in 1880, people were putting up shanties with wooden, like a horse and a buggy. Something else must have been going on. And the size of the doors alone, just, so I'm like, and they're putting up a bell that is weighs how much? Was it like something like 350,000 pounds or something obscene? Like how do you? And they're saying they were lifting the way they did it was lifted it up with ropes or something. Like that's not how that happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some the number on some of them are stupid. If you look up, I don't know if I posted it on that video, but I was just scrolling through and just looking at like the largest bells in the world, and there's always like ones that got broken and like how did that happen and like where they sit, like why would they put them there? For what use do they have? What would you need that big of a bell for? We'll just make a big bell. Yeah, there you go. That too. That's another amazing thing. 445,000 pounds. That's 2,000 pounds a ton. So what is that? 2,000 into 440. So that's a lot of tons. You're not lifting that up with ropes and a couple horses. Maybe you got some elephants. Right. And they mix steel, gold, and silver. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and see, and that's proof of like it had use at one point in time, but and that's why the kings had it. This is why gold was important at one time, but we don't have much use for it because who's putting a 445,000 pounds worth of steel, gold, and silver? I mean, how much would that be worth? I mean, I don't know what the ratios would be, but even a few 100 pounds of gold. Yeah, just the sheer magnitude and size of these buildings that were built so long ago, and people did just like, well, I'm just like, oh, you're unbelievable. You're looking at a door that probably you look at doors that are 40 feet high and probably and they're made out of cast iron. Do you know how heavy those doors would have to be? So what they did, they cut out a tiny little door in the bottom, and there's like a giant latch out of the reach of a human. So you'd be no way opening that door. No way. Yeah, how many elephants would it? Yeah, elephants are strong, no doubt. Yeah, there's some elephants are strong, powerful creatures. Yeah, it's like when they tell you the elephants were used to make the pyramids to drag. What's that, buddy? Elephants were used to drag giant stones that they cut with laser precision. That's not how they did that. Oh, nice, cool. Oh, does it sound better now? Yeah, it always happens about an hour in. What are you gonna do? Is it better? Put up, Declan. What are you been up to? Just double. I'm just double checking you can still hear me before I start ranting on something here. Is the audio good? Anybody tell me anything? If not, just let me tell you. Infrared sauna. I think they're a good idea. I don't think I'd overuse them, because I don't know that you're not cooking your internal organs, but I know they do have a lot of, they're pretty powerful for cleansing the blood and cleansing the skin and things. I've never really used one, but I've done a little bit of research on them, and I've had friends that have used them and said, okay, good, Eddie. Your joints are aching. Um, Easiest thing you do for achy joints, dude, is get yourself a gua sha tool. And if you don't have one, if you don't have time to order one, or they're just fucking with you, it's hurting you now, get a spoon and just use it like look up the word gua sha tool, GUASHA, 2 words, and just look up how to use it. And basically, you're just scraping it against your skin and you're loosening up your fascia. And you'll do it near where your knuckles are, or wherever if it's knee pain, and you're going to loosen up tendons and muscle fibers and pull your skin away from the fascia and loosen things up and help out your lymphatic system as well, which is going to be a major key in if you have any type of arthritis or anything. And lube them up, yeah, definitely lube them up. Oh, I already have. Hold on, I'll go now. Yeah. It's a cheap tool you can get on Amazon. Just double check on the audio. Let me know. I'll just. Oh, base. It's not you. It's not you. It happens when I'm doing it by myself. So I'm gonna jump off and jump back on. Hold on. There we go. There's me again. So yeah, so Declan, it's a super simple tool. It happens like you can get cool ones that are made of onyx or black stones that are good at removing negative energies. You get green ones and you get pink ones. Rose quartz and whatever the green. The green ones are cooling and good for your face. The black ones are good for your body. And they're cheap, man. They're like you can get a set for like $10. I'm still. How about now? Now it's reset mic. Ah. Is this better now? It's trying to. It's trying to come back. Yeah. Where were we before that? Before we got into gua sha, there was something I was gonna say. Oh, just about how the pyramids were built. I'm not gonna guarantee this one, but I think I could figure it out for you. And it's a simple answer. Because if you understand what was there and what they were building with, to make limestone, you can all of these stones can be cast. You don't need to dig them out of the ground. You could make a mold and then add lime and water and hemp or concrete or brick, mortar, the cement, Cleveland cement or whatever they were using to give you the different colors, and you would just cast them into place. There's no moving heavy blocks. All you have to do is chop down the hemp, bring the hemp up there. Here, carry a load of hemp. Let the horses or the humans or the giants or the elephants do it that way. And they make a mold, cast it right there into place, and it would. All you do is you mold it into place, and then as it dries, it becomes even more solid. So you would make limestone. All you need to do, what do you need to bring there that's heavy? Nothing. And you could get that much, for the like the gravel, the stone to mix it with, sand, whatever the hell they're using. I mean, I never taken a piece and looked at it, but it'd be way easier to do that, wouldn't it? Than cutting that. I'm not saying they didn't have laser precision and weren't printing those, or giants weren't doing it, but that'd be an easy way to do it. And if you consider what was around that area, because the river is there, they have a perfect source of water right there. Funnel that right in. You good. You got the river. Make a pyramid. And the whole landscape was what? It was probably hemp everywhere. Cut the hemp down and use that to build some pyramids. Or we got this from a mine 20 million miles away, and it's like, are you sure they just didn't, you know, do something over there using the same technique of cutting down hemp? No wonder we got so far away from using hemp and everything, because of how strong and resilient it is as a fiber, as a material for your clothes, or to build with. I mean, I would bet on that. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I'd bet on it. And there are ways of, once that's in place, I'm not going to tell you what kind of power tools they had. You could polish those. There's plenty of ways to polish those things, even if they didn't have power tools. But I'm pretty sure they were using, you know, they were using an alternative source of power, and that's what the pyramids were. They were. This is why they have capstones. They were capacitors. They were power centers. And it seems like something happened with the power center, that it blew off the capstone and broke the capacitors, thereby destroying the system. So let's say they had power to tools which they could sand with, shape things with. Laser levels, water levels, all sorts of things you could do to make sure that's in order. Yeah, the whole idea of lead paint not being good. Are we sure? I mean, maybe we just shouldn't be putting it in babies' cribs where they're licking it. And and not to mention, even these molds and these shapes didn't work like perfectly, if they weren't shaped perfectly, when you say you can add, you ever finished a house? Put, you know, there's you just add mud and paint to make it good where it ain't. They could always add material, whether it was paint or other things. Considering all those pyramids you see as tan, each one of them was a different color. One was black, one was red, and one was white. And what they said was one was red as whatever red granite is. One was um, limestone, and one was like, I think, onyx or something. Which if you ground that up, you could put that into place, and all of those are piezoelectric. Your teeth in your skeletal system is piezoelectric. Those stones are piezoelectric. If you're trying to build something for EMF, build yourself a Faraday cage. You heard me? Build yourself a Faraday cage. That's pretty simple. Faraday cage, you're basically just sandwiching a inorganic and an inorganic and an organic element together. Sandwich them together. One way that you do it is you're building a. Okay, one way you do it is, and I have a whole video on how to build these things. Um, you're making a piece of organite, which is doing the opposite of what a Faraday cage does, and you build it in the opposite way. That's all you're doing is just what you're sandwiching it with first. So as you're doing that, it's basically making. I forget on a I believe in a Faraday cage the inorganic goes on the inside and the organic goes on the outside. What's the video called? Oh man, it's one of my ones from probably like 5 or 6 years ago. It's one of my more popular ones. I'm pretty sure it's on my channel, and it has the pictures of crowns, and like it's one of the ones when I had a bunch of, like, I did the whole screen with the, like, pictures and images, and I kind of went through and explained how they all fit together and what a crown was and why kings wore crowns, what coins were. And it's one of those. I'll look through it. I'll try to find it. I wish I was a little more organized when I was doing these videos, and I knew and I could tag them right, but I couldn't tag them because I had to have to tag them after the video, so it became like a whole thing. Because I was using my phone and I wasn't using a PC, so it was a whole thing. Yeah, you would use. I mean, you could use something as simple as, say, uh, I suppose you could use like plywood and then aluminum and go back and forth. I'm pretty sure that's the simplest way to do it. But you could also make a cage that's more of like, instead of making it flat where you put something inside, so it gets rid of the radio frequencies and things, that you could make it like a webbed thing, like a pyramid or something that is just made out of so you can get in and out of the thing. And basically that's what they said whenever we look into all of these things that Tesla was doing, apparently these were happening right around the plasma apocalypse, so people would be inside of it during the plasma event, so that it wasn't hitting them. So they were grounding out the plasma discharge, the electrical plasmic, you know. And that was what they said it was used for, and it would make sense that, considering we're bombarded with EMF frequencies and radio waves, and that, yeah, man. Oh, Declan, that's hilarious. I mean, good for you, man. That's they if they're making fun of it, it's probably real. And considering what aluminum foil does, they'll tell you what it does. You know, your boy Jay Dreamers used to rock that in his hat. I don't know if he still does. He probably does. He always talked about that. But when you get into what it's doing, you're creating, like, it's funny to anyone else, like, oh, you wear tinfoil hat. But it's like, in reality, like, didn't you see Magneto? Didn't you don't you see how psychic powers and manipulation of energy works? Do you know why kings wore crowns and they were made out of the things with certain crystals, putting it on their head? What do you think they were doing? Broadcast frequencies from their brain. Man, so it's like right in that middle temperature range where I kind of want to go get a hoodie. but I don't want to go inside because the place I'm staying is just like it's just it's just bland energy, and it's just kind of empty. But if I stay outside, I know that I'm gonna go to the front. I know that I'm gonna go to the quarter and just end up being a goof. I'd rather save that for tomorrow. Oh, there you go, Declan. That you just simple proof. It's not letting that not that obviously. So when people are always like, "Hey, you got to get one of the EMF cages for your phone or whatever," then get some aluminum foil. Uh, People already know that you can't. You put this next to your head too many times, your phone, you're frying brains. It's pretty much common knowledge to people, but they still out here doing it. People say especially don't get it near babies because their brain is developing, cause a lot of damage to the kid's brain. So aluminum hats, dude. There's your company. People will laugh at you, but also people that are in the know, they'd be like, "That's what's up." Suppose you could just get a bunch of. You could probably just get a bunch of get some heavy duty aluminum foil and make yourself a bed sheet, something to lay on and put a bed sheet. Remember those winter emergency blankets? They're like silver. I don't know that there's aluminum in it, but that might be something interesting. Oh yeah, it's that warm. Oh shit. You're just basically cooking yourself. You're becoming a fried turkey in there. Yeah, people should become familiar with um as all of the preppers, you know, and all of these and the people that into the even the crazier stuff, like an actual plasma apocalypse, which I'm pretty certain of. You should get familiar with where buildings are, where the oldest buildings in your city are, where things that are made of certain materials. I mean, you'd probably expect that any place that is, say, Freemasonic or any older buildings that seem like they've lasted, they probably are made of the right material, and that's where you'd probably want to be. Hmm. Yeah, interestingly, the place I'm staying now I'm pretty sure the house has one of those new meters on it, and I don't really sleep that well there. What up, Danny Skylark? What are you doing? Howdy doody. Is that a picture of a dog or roses? I can't tell. Why get here so late? I'm almost wrapping this thing up. 'Cause I want to get. I need. I'm gonna. If I'm gonna stick out here, I need to go get a. I need to get a hoodie. Dave. Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I've put out there so many times. People, you need to. Get as much of the heavy metals out of your diet, out of your person. Get as much of the salt out because that's what it's going to be trying to do. It's looking to find that. And so you'd be also you probably could, especially if you're pretty clean, just take your shoes off. You could probably just stand outside. Because remember how Tesla used to just sit in that chair and all the electricity would be kind of like, I think nothing's happening. I mean, obviously, I think the dude was a um, he was just backwards mapping things. I don't think he created any of that. Declan, I think it comes earlier than that. Why? I hope it does because I'm not. I don't want to play. If this system is going to keep doing what it's doing for 7 more years, I'm not. That's not fun. That's just stupid. That would just be like so pointless. Nobody, no, but I don't think anybody would want to live during what they're trying to accomplish. I my hopes is it comes like I would hope it comes this winter. I don't care. Like, get it done with. They can get in their spaceships. They can go in their bunkers. I don't think I'm not too worried about a plasma thing. What do you mean what'd you say, Eddie? Y7? No, no, because Declan said plasma apocalypse in 2029. And I'm like, it's 2022. If it's 7 years from now, that's no. But my guess was pretty much either 2020 or 2022. And most of the things that are going on right now are kind of pointing towards, or it should be this winter. It just depends on how much the thing speeds up, whatever's happening in the whole thing we live in. Because there's already crazy, wacky, goofy things happening in the sky. And here's what they wouldn't do. And here's why I think this. They wouldn't just they would keep the thing going where they're like, hey, we're gonna have movies come out next year. It's gonna be business as usual, even if they knew. They don't you wouldn't wanna if you knew watch any end of the world movie. They don't tell the public. You would have to notice it first. They don't tell the public. Why? Because if I told you that, like, oh, guarantee meteor is going to hit the Earth in 2 weeks, everyone would turn into lunatics and chaos, like utter chaos, and they don't want that. They won't want us to. They wouldn't want that to happen because there must be a purpose for some of us here, and I don't think that I don't. I think they're. I think that if it does happen, that that's when gateways open that they could use one of their crafts to go somewhere. And what do you mean just finished Bullet Train? Is that a Oh yeah, what did you watch it on? Isn't that new flick that just came out with? It was supposed to be like super good with your boy, uh, Brad Pitt. You got hit with a plasma ball. Yeah, Jay was saying that initially he was on the 2019 train, but then as he was going through the math because he was using a little more Bible. He was using a little bit more to do with the Bible, saying, "Well, it's got to be between these dates." And he was really trying to say because here's what he was relying on. He was saying he was using the Sabbath. Well, the thing is Sabbath doesn't mean it when he thinks it means it. Sabbath means just a day of rest. Sabbath doesn't mean. I mean, because think about it, the Jews are Sabbath is on Saturday, Christians is on Sunday, but it literally just means day of rest. So it's not. I don't think that part applies. The other part that he used seemed to apply. The rest of it, he was like, well, if we use these kind of, here's what the Bible says and here's what this says, that could be basically most people are geared towards it's a winter. They'll be during the winter solstice, not the summer. Yeah, so the 2025, perhaps. I just see the system. They're still gonna play. They're still gonna play the game, even if they knew. And what if they don't know? Like I think they know that it does occur, obviously. But if they haven't keyed it in to the exact date, even if they knew it was this year, again, they're not gonna. No, just out and I'll say that. There's oh, we're still gonna go. We're still New World Order stuff, and we're gonna change everything to this system and whatever. Yeah, there we go. All you have to do is drink. Yeah, well, because I mean, your piss is your plasma, so you'd be better off with. But then you're basically part of the plasma field, anyways. So it would just recognize you as part of the system, like the plasmic system, not the system at play now. Um, the Bible says, "Pray it does not come in the winter." I don't know that part, but I mean, it all like as much as I've seen and listened to and researched, it seems like it will occur in the winter. But that's why I told y'all, don't be where it's cold. That's not gonna be good. Danny was saying, what? Why to what? Well, also, I mean, that to me, it makes sense. It makes sense this year because a if I have any say in the matter, might as well just come on, it'd be fun. Because I really don't think most people would make it through what the system is attempting to do for another for many more years. Like we've already seen people go nuts. So we're already watching it. So we either get the zombie apocalypse or the plasma apocalypse or some uh combination of such things. And it does seem to line up with this year. What about Antarctica, man? And that's the thing is like I'm just like nah, I don't feel like just come on, let's chop some zombies up or whatever. But I just think most people would just exit the system. I think they'll all be like the plasma might save some people from having got the thing, you know, the thing that everybody got. That might fix their blood. It might fix what's inside of them, and hopefully that would. But anybody else with it still in there, if they're just throwing out, the EMFs and the EMPs and all of this, no one will make it another 5 years. People people will be people will be already turning into zombies just as a regular person being completely cuckoo, and then there's going to be people just falling over because that's kind of what it does to you, huh? And yeah, people just like, this is stupid. You ever play a video game and you're just like, I'm done. Well, Declan, you're not actually trying to. Who's for going there? How? I've seen a couple people say they tried. I don't know what part of thing they were. If they were a white hat, a black hat, or just some random person that wanted to go. And again, they could just be telling you stories. But as I said last video, like who and how are you going to do it? Who has the gear? Who's got the boat? Who wants to climb that wall? Do you know where you're going? Are the maps right? Is are we going to use one of the old maps? Can we? How do we figure out? Because none of the maps are accurate. I mean, we use Google googly Earths to try to find it, to find an exit out the room. Ain't nobody gonna want to climb that mountain. No, nobody gets to find that. Like, and and then you got to add into it, like, and if it is highly guarded, what's the point? They'll just be like, nah, nope. I mean, I suppose it's not. I suppose you're right that it's not, because it doesn't make guard it from what? Even if someone got there and they're using gypsies, GPSs, they would know. They would just go, "Oh, okay." They would already know it, and nobody would know where they're going anyways. You see, there's too many variables of even, like, what's the point? Yeah, I mean, I get you on that, but that's why I was like, I, I think I know why I'm in New Orleans. I think if I take my instincts, this is where I want to live. For It could be a million reasons. I do I is it the music? Of course. Is it the people? Is it the food? Is it all this? Yes, but it's also, it seems like, instinctually, I'm near you know the Mississippi, near the ocean. If boats are required, I'm in a warm climate. There's a lot of reasons I would be here, and I wouldn't see much reason to try to figure out how to go how many thousands of miles on a boat that I don't even own, that I have no access to. Who can afford this? Anybody got the money? I mean, if somebody said, "Do you want to go on an expedition?" and we'll go there. If somebody said, "I got the boat, I got the supplies, I got the people, I got a decent map and a possibility of where this might be," I would maybe go. Maybe Miss Sips piss. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See. Then we got it, Declan. Then we all be. How are we going to link up to begin with? That's a whole journey in and of itself. But you find somebody that has a little more insight into it, and has the money. I mean, a bunch of people tried to go and try to finance an effort to get there, and that's like, mm, I suppose it would probably take seven figures to even consider doing it. Well, check it out, y'all. I don't know how much longer this park is open. Maybe I just sit here until it closes. I think it's open till sundown. Maybe, yeah. You got a submarine, Danny? What you mean ninth pass? And it ain't about money? Oh, certainly it is, though. Come on. What are you gonna manifest it? What is it about? Of course it is. It's about access. It's about reasonability. It's about, you need to have access to all the things that we just said. The boat, the enough people, a navigator, the gear, the clothes, and then you need a map of, okay, you can internal dialogue it. Okay, you're gonna read the moon and all that, but on for Red October and a Yellow Submarine. But you certainly not, the access to it. Fine, manifest it. Find somebody's got a boat. It had to be a ship. I ain't never been out on a big ass ship. I don't like the cold. I want to be cold. Move from the north for a reason. I mean, if you're saying it's all internal, it's all inside of you, use your treasure in your chest. Yeah, I get that part, dude. I'm saying there is as much of a logical, masculine, physical, tangible world. But there is one. It's there. It is that you know. Of course, I can do all the astral travel and get out of body on this, but and that's more of the spiritual realm, more associated with women, right? Spiritual realm, but the physical realm exists. We could pirate ourselves a boat. Where's you gonna start? Map it out. Tell me how long it takes. Where would we get our boat from? What kind of boat would we get? Which way would we go? And then on our way there, you get to talk to me about fuel, fixing the engine. We need an engine man. We need somebody who has any knowledge of that. Where are we going to refuel? All right, so check it. I'm probably going to dip in a couple minutes because the sun is going down and my battery is a little bit a little bit low. Yeah, yeah. I mean, neither exists without the other. Hi, puppy. Well, well, well. I guess I'll call it a show here because it's gonna as soon as the sun goes down, it's gonna be too cold, and I need a hoodie. Uh, as per usual, if you want to, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all that. It'll be very helpful. I'm in little dire straits financially right now. As in the description, everything on the bottom, and you know the rules in life. Have fun, be weird, be as goofy as possible, and if you have a lot, make sure you share that. Share it with me, and if you can't share it with me, make sure you share it with somebody. And I think maybe what I'll do is I'll probably go home and get motivated and do another show for you guys in a little bit. Maybe go grab a beverage. Um, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think we covered a lot of things. Good to see y'all. Have a beautiful day, and I am ass out of here. Be weird, y'all.